top 10 most evil men who ever walked the earth. From tyrants to serial killers, these individuals left a trail of devastation and despair in their wake. Join us as we explore their chilling stories, from the depths of their depravity to the impact they had on the world. Brace yourself for a journey into the shadows as we count down the most sinister figures in history. Number 10. Maximilien Robespierre. Maximilien Robespierre was a key figure in the French Revolution. Known for his influential role in the decision to execute the king without a trial, he also played a major part in the Reign of Terror, a dark period lasting 10 months after the revolution, marked by widespread executions. During this terrifying time, thousands of people lost their lives, with estimates ranging from 18,500 to 40,000 victims. Shockingly, the majority were ordinary workers and peasants accused of various crimes, such as hoarding, dodging the draft, or rebelling against the new government. And a twist of fate. Robespierre himself met the same fate he imposed on others. He was guillotined without a trial in 1794. Number 9. Ruhollah Khomeini. Ayatollah Khomeini led Iran from 1979 to 1989, and during his time, he enforced strict Sharia law, which included rules about how people should dress and behave according to Islamic teachings. Those who opposed his religious rule faced severe punishments. In a speech in 1979, Khomeini warned that anyone trying to cause trouble in the name of democracy would face harsh consequences, comparing them to a group called Bani Gorazade Jews, who faced punishment in Islamic history. He even ordered the hanging of such troublemakers. During the 1988 massacre of Iranian prisoners, Khomeini ordered the execution of thousands of political prisoners who refused to support the government. It's believed that around 30,000 people were killed during this time. After battling cancer and spending 11 days in the hospital for surgery, Khomeini passed away on June 4, 1989, at the age of 86. Number 8. Attila the Hun. Let's talk about Attila, the powerful leader of the Huns, who ruled from 434 until his death in 453. His empire stretched far and wide, from Germany to the Ural River, and from the Danube River to the Baltic Sea. In Western Europe, Attila is remembered as a symbol of cruelty and greed. He launched a failed attack in Persia before turning his sights to the Eastern Roman Empire in 441. After conquering the East, Attila felt unstoppable and decided to invade the West. With unmatched ferocity, Attila led his army through Austria and Germany, crossing the Rhine into Gaul. Along the way, he left a trail of destruction, plundering everything in his path and forcing those he defeated to join his forces. But Attila's reign of terror came to a gruesome end. Legend has it that he met his demise on his wedding night, drowning in his own blood. Number 7. Pol Pot. Pol Pot was the leader of the Khmer Rouge in Cambodia during the late 1970s. He imposed a harsh form of communism, forcing people from cities to work on farms in the countryside. This led to widespread suffering, with millions of Cambodians dying from starvation, disease, and execution. Pol Pot's regime was particularly brutal towards intellectuals and anyone deemed a threat to the communist ideology. They were rounded up and killed in mass executions, often in places called the killing fields, where bodies were buried in mass graves to save ammunition. Executions were carried out using crude weapons like hammers and axes. The brutality of Pol Pot's rule left a dark stain on Cambodian history, and the scars of his regime are still felt today. Number 6. Idi Amin Dada. Idi Amin was a military leader and president of Uganda. He seized power in a coup in 1971, ousting Milton Obote. Amin's time in charge was marked by terrible human rights violations, political oppression, and targeting of certain ethnic groups. Many people suffered under his rule, with estimates of those killed ranging from 80,000 to 500,000. In 1972, Amin ordered the expulsion of around 60,000 Asians who were not Ugandan citizens, most of whom held British passports. Later, this was expanded to include all 80,000 Asians, except for professionals like doctors and teachers. Despite being eventually overthrown, Amin never showed remorse for the suffering caused by his regime, claiming Uganda still needed him. Number 5. Leopold II of Belgium. Leopold II was the king of Belgium from 1865 to 1909. He set up the Congo Free State, a project to extract rubber and ivory from Central Africa's Congo region. But his methods were brutal. He used forced labor and caused the deaths of around 3 million Congolese people. Leopold ruled over an area 76 times bigger than Belgium itself, with his own private army called the Force Publique. His rubber collectors were treated terribly, tortured, and even killed. It wasn't until the Western world finally spoke up against these atrocities that the horrors in Congo came to an end. Number 4. Ivan IV of Russia. Ivan IV of Russia, famously known as Ivan the Terrible, ruled Muscovy from 1533 to 1547 and was the first to be called Tsar of Russia. In 1570, he suspected the elite of Novgorod were planning to betray Russia, so he surrounded the city with his army to stop them. Every day, hundreds of people were rounded up, tortured, and killed in front of Ivan and his son. In 2581, Ivan got angry with his pregnant daughter-in-law for her clothing and beat her, causing her to lose her baby. When his son, also named Ivan, found out, they argued fiercely, and Ivan accidentally hit his son on the head with a staff, causing his death. Number 3. Vlad the Impaler. Vlad III of Romania, also known as Vlad the Impaler, ruled Wallachia 3 times between 1448 and 1476. He's famous for his brutal punishments, which inspired the main vampire in Bram Stoker's Dracula novel. In Romania, some see him as a fair prince, but his methods were incredibly cruel. One of his favorite tortures was impaling, where victims were slowly pierced by sharpened stakes. He was careful not to make the stakes too sharp to prolong the suffering. Vlad's cruelty didn't stop there. He employed a variety of tortures, from nailings to limb cutting and even boiling people alive. It's said that in 1460 alone, he impaled around 10,000 people. Number 2. Joseph Stalin. Stalin was the head of the Communist Party in the Soviet Union from 1922 until he died in 1953. During his rule, Ukraine suffered a terrible famine called Holodomor, which many see as a deliberate act of genocide. The death toll is estimated between 5 to 10 million people. Stalin also ordered purges within the Soviet Union, targeting anyone seen as against the government. Overall, it's believed that anywhere from 10 to 60 million people lost their lives under Stalin's rule. Number 1. Adolf Hitler. Adolf Hitler's ascent to power in 1933 as Chancellor of Germany marked the beginning of a dark chapter in history. Within a year, he consolidated his control and assumed the title of Führer, or leader, wielding absolute authority over the nation. Over the next 12 years, Hitler's regime unleashed a wave of destruction and suffering that reverberated across the globe. Central to Hitler's vision was the pursuit of territorial conquest and the implementation of racial supremacy, particularly targeting Jewish communities. His policies led to the systematic persecution, discrimination, and ultimately, the genocide of approximately 6 million Jews in what became known as the Holocaust. The horrors of the Holocaust, with its concentration camps and gas chambers, stand as a stark reminder of the depths of human depravity. Hitler's ambitions for territorial expansion fueled World War II, plunging the world into a conflict that claimed the lives of tens of millions of people. The devastation wrought by the war extended far beyond the battlefield, leaving behind a trail of destruction and suffering in its wake. As the war reached its climax in 1945, Hitler's regime crumbled under the relentless advance of Allied forces. With Soviet troops closing in on Berlin, Hitler retreated to his bunker beneath the Reich Chancellery. On April 30, 1945, facing imminent defeat, Hitler chose to end his life rather than face capture or surrender. He committed suicide by shooting himself while simultaneously biting into a cyanide capsule. The end of Hitler's life did not mark the end of his legacy. The horrors of his regime continue to haunt humanity, serving as a cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked power, bigotry, and hate. As we come to the end of our journey through the lives of history's most evil men, it's essential to remember the lessons they teach us. Their actions serve as stark reminders of the capacity for darkness within humanity and the importance of remaining vigilant against tyranny, oppression, and hatred. While these men may have left a trail of devastation and despair in their wake, they also provide us with an opportunity for reflection and introspection. By understanding the depths of their depravity, we can strive to build a better world, a world where compassion, empathy, and justice prevail. Let their stories serve as cautionary tales, motivating us to stand against injustice and to champion the values of kindness, tolerance, and equality. Together, we have the power to shape a future where the lessons of history are heeded and the mistakes of the past are not repeated. Thank you for joining us on this exploration of history's most malevolent figures. May we carry forward the lessons learned and work towards a brighter, more compassionate world for generations to come.